I'm the president of Kyle and Carrick Civic Society, and as such I'm a working president, and I have a team who are the committee members, and I keep them in order, and they help me organise Doors Open Day. I've been doing it for quite a while.
Can you remember which year you started?
We started in 1990, so this is 21 years for us.
And you started at the same time as Glasgow?
That's right. John Gerard, the technical director at the Scottish Civic Trust, approached us as a voluntary body because he knew that we were game for a 2-day public local inquiry if necessary, when we've been campaigning for a building, for example. And we've got a fairly active membership, about 150 members, and he thought it would be worth approaching Kyle and Carrick Civic Society to be guinea pigs. And the first year, 1990, we started with 4 buildings. We met at the Sheriff Court in Ayr. It's a category A listed building of about 1820, and we met on the steps there with about 60 people. It was an enormous crowd for a guided walk, and we saw the interior. The furnishings were original, and it's been in off and on subsequent years. And then we moved to the Tower of St John's, and that's in Bruce Crescent, and we found that youngsters love climbing towers. They've always been very popular. After admiring the view from the top there, it started spitting with rain, and our next call was to see the town buildings, which is the town hall and the provost's room with some memorabilia on display. And the provost at the time, Danny was his name, had been hosting a reception for the NUR, the National Union of Railwaymen. He himself was a railwayman. So we reached there about 4 o'clock. His delegates had gone, and he very kindly gave us tea and biscuits, which is what we were wanting. It was ideal. And by the time we left him and moved on to North Harbour Street Lighthouse, which is tiny, tiny, tiny lighthouse that a lot of people don't know about, we had a small party, and it was really good because it was possible to climb the spiral staircase, and this dates from 1841, and see the original dome with its small bits of glass, and we were able to admire the lavatory, which has a curved back to the seat. So it was a good fun ending, just the 4.
Are any of those 4 buildings taking part in Doors Open Days this year in Ayr?
Yes, we've got the Sheriff Court back in this year, and we've got the town buildings this year. We don't have the Tower of St John's, so the health and safety issue been raised there.
That's a shame.
And we don't have the North Harbour Street Lighthouse because the Associated British Ports have a working port, and it's rather too busy and it's a bit hazardous, so it's not so good.
What was the reaction of the people of Ayr to Doors Open Days?
We thought it was a great success, and we reported back to John Gerard, and he encouraged us to try again the next year under the title European Heritage Day, Doors Open Day, and that was on a Saturday. The first one had been on a Sunday, and that year we had 6 buildings, and the Gaiety Theatre was very popular with guided tours on the hour, and people could see behind the scenes, which is fascinating because the space behind is very cramped and the dressing rooms are very small, and it's just wonderful to realise how a wonderful show can be produced from such cramped surroundings. But it was fascinating to see the laundry and the costume store and the aspects of a theatre that you don't normally see. Then our second building on that occasion, there were just 6. The second one was Holy Trinity Episcopal Church, which has a very good building by John Loughborough Pearson, and it dates from 1898. Good stained glass windows. We had the Cathedral of the Good Shepherd, which was a rather imposing brick building opened in 1957. Sadly, that's no longer in use as a church. It's being converted into flats. And our star attraction was to have the only Category A listed Victorian dwelling house in Ayr, which happened to be on the market. And so all the nosy parkers came on Doors Open Day, and the estate agents were delighted because we dealt with the nosy ones, and the serious people interested were quite small in number, quite few in number. It's the house designed and built by distinguished local architect James A. Morris in 1893 for his own occupation, and it's got stained glass by Oscar Patterson. It's got an allegory of the arts overmantel painted in the dining room, and it's a very much an arts and crafts house, and it was available because his surviving daughter, Sarah Morris, had recently died, so it was only 2 generations in the family and on sale for the first time.
Wow. Did it have the original furniture in there when
Yes.
people looked around?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. So
So
presumably
it was-
that's the only year that that's ever taken part in Doors Open Days.
Yes, just the once.
That was quite a special one. So you've got a really good selection of buildings taking part even within the first 2 years.
Yes.
Doors Open Days.
The other 2 that year were the Old Kirk of Ayr, which is a medieval church of 1656, and it's got some new stained glass, which is good. It's open this year. And the 6th building was the local Free Church, second oldest church in use in Ayr, dating from 1832. And if you've not been in a Free Church before, it's quite a revelation. There's no organ, they don't have music as such, and the elders had put on a very good exhibition of their collection of Bibles, some of which are quite rare.
Fantastic. So we had 4 buildings in the first year, 6 in the second, and how many buildings are taking part in Doors Open Days this year?
Because this is 21 years, we're in operation for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday at the beginning of September, and we've reached a maximum, which is 77. We can't go any bigger because the leaflet we have is A3 folded, and after that it becomes A3.5 folded. That's more expensive to print, more expensive to post out, and so 77 we've had once before. In the Burns bicentenary year 1996 we had 77, but this year we've got 77.
Could you tell me a little bit about the year that you had a nightclub take part?
Yes, we were looking around for buildings that had never participated before, and we were looking for buildings where there's a generation gap, because we thought a lot of our supporters are fairly mature people, and we thought, where can you think of where they've not been? And we've got 2 or 3 nightclubs in Ayr, so we approached a nightclub and said, would they participate in Doors Open Day and open up in the daytime when it's a nocturnal activity to go to nightclubs. And we got the corporation of Madison's in Carrick Street in Ayr Town Centre, which has an attractive door, which is quite enticing. But once you're inside, the carpet's multicoloured and it matches the glasses, the plastic glasses in orange and purple and yellow and red and green. So to have carpets and plastic tumblers colour coordinated, we thought was really quite fun. And they played music, but it wasn't too loud because, as I said earlier, most of our people are mature people, so they didn't want the normal volumes. But they were fascinated to see where their grandchildren go at night. So it was a real revelation.
So since you've been involved in Doors Open Days from the very beginning, how do you think it's changed over the 20 years?
We've expanded from Ayr, the first 2 years to the whole of Ayrshire. And provided we get a bit of funding from East Ayrshire Council, North Ayrshire Council and South Ayrshire Council, we can incorporate wonderful buildings not normally available throughout Ayrshire.
Do you have any favourites that spring to mind out of the Doors Open Days events you visited?
The marriage rooms in Glasgow, the Clyde Port Authority building in Glasgow.
And what is it about those buildings that particularly sticks in your mind?
The quality of the stonework, the quality of the woodwork, the quality of the stained glass. In our selection in Ayrshire, Auchinleck House is marvellous. It was rescued by the Scottish Historic Buildings Trust and then converted for use to Sleep 13 as a holiday let through the Landmark Trust. It's where James Boswell used to live.
It's beautiful.
And the restoration is marvellous. It's always very popular. A quirky little one in Ayrshire is the Telephone Museum. It's a private telephone museum in Darvel. That's regularly participated over the last 21 years. And this year we've got a remarkable former local authority house which has been given a makeover by this artist. His name is David Roman. And with a pot of paint or two and a bit of dedication, he's created an amazing interior in a former local authority house.
And you've mentioned stained glass a couple of times. Is there anything going on in Ayr that ties in with the 400-year celebration of glassmaking in Scotland?
Yes, I'm really pleased to say we've got 3 glass workers. I can remember 2 of them by name, Moira Malcolm and Susan Bradbury, who have glass on display in a couple of our buildings, and they're going to be on duty on that day. So we're really pleased about that, and we hope that we'll have 1 or 2 other artists in various buildings. It brings a new dimension to not only commemorate those who've gone before, leaving wonderful stone, wood, metal and glass, but current active artists whose contributions for the future.
Do you have a favourite stained glass building in Ayrshire?
Yes. The little Episcopal church in Ardrossan has a window with a section designed by Harrington Mann. It shows an angel plucking tulips with a rush basket. It's the best example we know of Glasgow style stained glass in an ecclesiastical building, and it's absolutely beautiful.
And is it possible to see that at Doors Open Days this year?
Yes, it's coming into Doors Open Day this year, so if you're in Ardrossan, look at the modern Roman Catholic Church, St Peter in Chains, and look at St Andrew's Scottish Episcopal Church, which is just along from it. And the 3rd building in Ardrossan is the former town hall, which is now the lodge, the Masonic Lodge.
You've given us loads to think about events that people can visit in Ayrshire this year. Could you just let us know the dates and where they can get hold of a programme?
Yes, indeed. The programmes are in all the Ayrshire libraries and the tourist information centres, also available on the website.
Okay.
The first weekend of September, some on Saturday the 4th, some on Sunday the 5th, some on both days, but please check out the details because the times of opening vary, particularly if there's a church involved and they have a Sunday service.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for coming along to the interview today.